Al, as we get into this final topic here in the show here today, it's been a great show, and we've had a lot of listeners understand more about what's happening out there, but getting into these markets with a little more confidence, right?
Mhm.
Now, it all comes down to having a proper trading and investment plan. And most people don't have that. I mean, we're not taught. I mean, our parents didn't know how to do that. And that's why our sponsor, Online Trading Academy, has these investing classes to get people started with that process. It's what is the pathway to their goals? What do they need to get there? And it does start with that plan. So let's talk about what is within that plan and what is the best way to get started with that?
Yeah, well, I think about taking a trip, for example. You don't just get in your car and then just start driving and hope you end up where you wanted to go. You have a plan, a route that you follow, so to speak. And that's kind of what this plan does. It's sort of like a route that you follow to go from where you are now to where you want to be. What is your end point? And really, that's based on your why. You mentioned that the last time. That really is probably the most important thing to consider is why are you looking at the financial markets? Why do you need money? What is it going to do for you? It's not just to have a pile of money sitting in a corner somewhere. You probably have something you want to do with it, a goal. What do you want your life to look like in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years? And that plan should help you get to that point from where you are now. How do you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go? And it starts with that plan should include not only the why, it should include a foundational strategy that you follow, and that it should include something that helps you to control the emotions. Even Warren Buffett said this. He said that you should have a sound framework for making decisions. That's our core strategy. And then the ability to keep the emotions from corroding that framework. That's what you do with a set of rules. And that plan includes that set of rules. It's a step-by-step process that really is customized for you because everybody has different expectations, a different way that they want to get there. And the reason that we talked about those assets like futures, forex, and options is that there is a difference in the way that you invest or trade for short-term income needs and your long-term wealth. And that's what we do. We teach strategies that help you achieve those short-term goals and then your long-term wealth goals. Yeah, potentially. And again, nothing is 100%. But the goal is to put the odds in your favor, just like the casinos do. And the way you do that is to set the rules, because the people that set the rules, they put the odds in their favor. That's what you can do as a trader or investor. Let's make sure that you have that opportunity, as Josh had mentioned before, for high reward, low risk trades and investments. But when you go into retirement, this especially is the time when you have to have protection. When you're 65 or 70 or 75, whatever the age is when you retire, that's kind of at a point
That's kind of
where
old.
It's not so old anymore. Maybe at one point in time it was, but now it's not so old. But the point is that when you retire, you don't have the same number of years ahead of you to go back and start another career from scratch and to make up what could have been lost in a bear market. And we don't know when the next bear market will come. But we do know one will come. There'll be corrections, 10% drawdowns or more. There will be bear markets, 20% drawdowns or more. The year 2000, we had a 50% drawdown. The year 2008, 57%. Even just within the last year or so, down 34%. So those things are going to happen. And when you retire, that's something that can have a huge impact on the quality of the life you live. So protection needs to be number one. But you need to ask yourself, who's going to take care of you when you retire? Will it be your retirement account? Will it be Social Security? Will it be your kids? Those are all things that are important to understand. You need to have a plan that not only protects what you have, helps you to replace some of what the job income is no longer there to help with, and then also to grow those accounts.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up some of those, what's happened in the past with some of those down markets. The problem is the market is up right now. So that's why it's important to protect what you have. But there's so many people that might miss out on the great opportunities as these markets go down.
Sure.
So and it's all about having a custom plan. I'm glad you mentioned that. Everybody has their own custom plan, and that's what you need for you, not what your broker is going to put you in with a basket of hundreds or potentially even thousands of other people. So have it for you. Al, staying on this topic of retirement, there's a lot of people that are getting into the arena of self-directing their own retirement accounts. And you have to have a custom plan for that, as you're talking about, because one of the most important things that I think is to start to eliminate the fees. We haven't talked about that yet today.
Right.
What are some ways you can potentially eliminate fees in retirement accounts?
Well, we always look at your financial world kind of divided into two buckets. One is an income bucket and one is a retirement bucket. If you're trying to fill a bucket, let's say you take a bucket and you're filling it with water. If there's a hole in the bucket, you're probably going to take it's going to probably take you much longer to get it filled. If it's a big enough hole, you'll never get it filled. One of the holes in your retirement and your wealth bucket are fees.
Hmm.
Fees being taken out, that's money that's taken away from you on a regular basis. It's money that's no longer there compounding for you. For some people over the course of their working years, that could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars that they don't have because fees took that away.
Yeah, every time you talk about that bucket, you talk about that pretty much every single week. I think about that silly commercial, that Mr. Bucket commercial. Do
I,
you remember that commercial?
I do not remember that commercial.
But it was Mr. Bucket. He spits a ball out of his mouth, right? That's the Mr. Bucket. It was a game for kids. And think of that ball as fees. You're losing money because of fees.
Right.
Just dive into a little more opportunities on that.
Yeah, how do you eliminate those fees? And if that's something that's a negative that's siphoning money away from you, how do you plug that hole? Put some duct tape on that hole. Well, it's by taking control of your assets, having a self-directed account. Some of you might have all of your retirement money in a 401k or 403b. There are ways of getting better benefit from that. We do that in our classes. We talk about dynamic 401k management, but most of our students aspire to putting together a portfolio that is a self-directed IRA, for example. Then you don't have the fees. The assets that we talked about, futures, forex options, they can be traded in that self-directed IRA. You can trade stocks. You can, if you want to trade mutual funds, you can. But when we talk about protection, how do you protect a mutual fund? Well, you can't. Mutual funds can't be shorted. You can't have stop losses on them. You can't trade options on them. There's a number of things that will cause our students to not invest in mutual funds. But that being protected is one of the things you can do in a self-directed IRA. You can have that protection. We talk about some people being in a situation now where they would like to, benefit from an increasing market, but not lose money. Well, there are strategies that you can actually put into place where you can still benefit on the upside, but be protected. And it's sort of like having an insurance policy on your portfolio.
Yeah, really, I think the only way to do that is to do it yourself. But you got to be educated, and you have to be educated. That brings you confidence. And if you feel like you're missing out on, potentially eliminating fees, think about the alternatives to mutual funds. You might be able to use exchange traded funds.
Right.
Just imagine if you had the ability to self-direct your account and do that with confidence. How would that make you feel getting ready for retirement? How would that make you feel going into retirement? That might be more confidence.
Sure.
And Al, a lot of our listeners probably do have kids, and we have that. We call it the big game tomorrow. We have the Super Bowl, and we have the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as you know, who I'm a fan of, right?
Uh-huh.
But think of this: we always tell our kids, go outside and play, go do this, go learn more, go play with your friends, and we always encourage them to go do things. And get in the game. If they're playing sports, go play in the game. I always encourage people, get in the game, the financial markets. Hopefully some of the things that we talk about here on Investing with Confidence inspires you to get started, inspires you to gain an edge, learn the skills for that. Now, we've talked a lot about a plan today. It comes down to action, and that action really helps starts with your words of wisdom.
Well, you know what? No matter where you are right now, you can't control what's happened. You can't change the past. But John Fitzgerald Kennedy said this. I thought it was very appropriate. Quote, "Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future." Unquote. Now, remember, people don't decide their future. You decide what you do today, and what you do today decides your future. You'll be surprised at what you can accomplish if you just have the courage to try.
I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people do live in the past, and it's important to learn and live in the present for that future. And it starts with action. It starts with taking and getting into the game. Same time, same place next week, right here on WCCO. Retire young, my friends.